We're now onto stage 5, and this is a pretty fast one. We only need to add 2 new parts. The first one of those is this existing friction pin with bore. So let's hold down Control, let's left click and drag from that part in the graphics area, and then release the left mouse button to add a new copy of that part. And then the second part is that pin with just one side that we just made. You can insert this by going to Insert Components and then finding the file on your computer. So that should be called one-sided friction pin with bore. And before I insert it, I'm just going to spin it around so it's in the correct orientation. Now I'm going to add mates to this left-hand part first, just to make sure that we get the holes lined up correctly between the 2 new green parts. So I'm going to select the hole on the beam and the circular face of the peg and make those concentric. Then I'm going to drag the part out, and actually we want this hole in the middle to go along, so we might need to rotate it around a little bit. It should be in this sort of orientation. Now to make sure this is lined up correctly, let's click on the part. We can now see it in the parts tree and we can expand the part. And then let's select one of the planes down the middle. So for me, this is the top plane. We can then make that plane parallel with one of the top faces of one of the beams. So this just means that that hole is lined up correctly. We know that the part isn't twisted. The next thing we want to do is make sure that hole is exactly in the middle of the model. Now with some of the parts, we lined up the outer face with the outer face of the beam, but with this part, it's really important that the hole goes down the middle of the model. So what we're going to do is expand the part again. We're going to choose the plane that goes down the middle of the part, and then we're going to make that coincident with the middle of the assembly. And then that front part should be fully defined, so we can now add some mates to that final part on the right hand side. First, I'm just going to line up the peg on the bottom with the hole in the back of the beam. I'm going to make those concentric. And then I'm going to select the bore that goes through the middle of this front pin, and also select the bore that goes through the middle of the back pin and make those concentric. This is where the axle will go through that actually runs the tail rotor, so it's important that these are lined up. And we can see that we only actually needed 2 mates to fully define that part at the back. We can then save the assembly and stage 5 is done. In the next video, we'll start on stage 6, which includes modeling up and adding some gears.